It is 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. December the 17th of 2020. First item that we have is roll call, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chairman Erasmo Villarreal,
Present.
Jose Tellez,
Present.
Jorge Dominguez,
Present.
Rafael Dueñas,
Present.
Abraham Lugo,
Present.
Johnny Narvaez,
Present.
Raúl Ugalde,
Present.
Larry Dovalina,
Here.
Carlos Flores. Carlos Flores. Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item that we have is consideration of the approval of the minutes of the meeting of December the 3rd, 2020.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, before, I would like to make motion to excuse Commissioner Flores. Might be on order.
You have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas seconds it. All those who wish to vote against the motion, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. All right. We now have the consideration of the approval of the minutes of December the 3rd.
I move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dovalina. Do we have a second?
Second, Dominguez.
Dominguez seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Next item that we have is citizens' comments, and we'll give citizens a minute or two to see if they're on the line.
Thank you, sir. Just as a reminder for the commissioners and also for anybody who may be watching and in the general public, there is a delay from our discussion and the broadcast on Swagit and on Spectrum Channel 1300. It's about a 30-second to 1 minute delay. So we do want to give them time, but also recognize if you are calling in tonight that you might want to turn down if you're watching it so there isn't a feedback loop. And everybody's getting really good at muting themselves. I really appreciate that. It really preserves the audio quality. Again, if you may not be able to hear it, but if you're unmuted, it can create a feedback loop that makes it difficult for others to hear. So thank you very much for muting yourself when you're not speaking. And there is no one on the line. We will notify you if someone does call in.
Very good, thank you. So the next item that we have is public hearings and recommendations of an ordinance. First one that we have for public hearing is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing the issuance of special use permit for a restaurant selling alcohol on lots 10, 11, and 12, block 891, Eastern Division. This is located at 1618 and 1620 Chihuahua. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the SUP, in favor?
Yeah, Commissioner, we do have a presentation if you'd like, and then we can put up the number for the public comment.
That is fine. Go right ahead.
All right, the applicant is Rebecca Geisler, who's the owner, and Eduardo and Ana Cecilia Medina are the applicants. The property, as you mentioned, is located at 1618, 1620 Chihuahua Street, as well as 1720 Chihuahua Street for additional parking. The request is a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol. They can have a restaurant here, but to serve alcohol, they have to get a special use permit. We sent 19 letters out to surrounding property owners, and one letter came back against this, citing the issues they've had in the past with this property and having a restaurant serving alcohol in that location. This is the general location and aerial view of the property. Note that the 1702 is across the street, across Mendiola Avenue to the east. So it's the three lots. This is only showing the two, but it's also the third, 1702 on the other side of Mendiola. Am I pronouncing that wrong? Probably. How do you say that? Mm-hmm. And here is a street view of one of the parking lot on the main lot. Here is the zoning. You can see it's zone B1. And it is surrounded by properties that are B3 and also B1. And here is the future land use map showing this area designated as neighborhood mixed use. Staff does not support the request for the zone change, and the issue is really centered around that parking. And there is a way, we've advised the applicant, there's a way that they could get our positive recommendation that we have heard from those in the past, and we've looked at the history of this with complaints, and there have been complaints in the past related to parking and also some other issues. But the parking is what we're concerned about because there is parking in the area, and they could get an agreement from a neighboring property owner. And the problem in the past was that the neighboring property owners, their parking was being utilized for this restaurant, and so we would ask that that relationship be formalized, that they get enough parking. They need 22, and they have 24 spaces, but that's for everything being used on all those lots. And so it's just not enough for the additional use of the restaurant, especially with restaurants serving alcohol, which tends to have later hours. If you decide as a commission you want to move forward with this, then we would recommend the following conditions be applied to this special use permit. And they're the standard ones that we apply to restaurants serving alcohol that you've seen before. This is the proposed motion to recommend approval or denial, and the number for the public to call in to provide comment.
Okay, very good. Kirby, can you go back to the conditions you put on there for the commission, especially number 1?
Yes, sir. This is typical. We issue the special.
The owner you said was Rebecca Geisler, and here you want to issue an SUP to Richard Geisler.
Gracie, was that just a typo, or do you want to clarify?
Mr. Chairman, the owner is Richard Geisler, and Rebecca is a daughter of Mr. Geisler, and they have provided an affidavit for her to represent the owner.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Gracie.
All right. This is a public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak for or against, we will give them time to come on the line.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, we do have Ms. Rebecca Geisler on the line for any questions and to address the commission.
All right.
Go ahead, Ms. Geisler.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Geisler for the record, and I just wanted to state that the restaurant would be working after our closing hours of the other businesses on the property. So the parking will pretty much be empty because the other businesses won't be operating the same hours as the restaurant. Also,
Okay.
I would also like to let the commission know that we never had a problem, and in the past, when we had the previous restaurant, Melrose did let us use their parking, and we never had an issue. I know we did have an issue with Gonzalez Auto Parts, but I think that was more personal between the previous restaurant owner and them. So I don't see an issue with the new owners of the restaurant. And I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions for me.
Yes, I have a question for you, Ms. Geisler. What time would the restaurant start operating?
They're operating from 6 to 12.
Okay, 6 in the afternoon to 12 at night, midnight. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Just to clarify the conditions of the special use permit that we're recommending that are standard, it would impact operating hours so that they would only be allowed to operate during those hours from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. So they would not be allowed to operate outside those hours.
Okay.
So who enforces that?
Well, it's enforced typically the way a lot of our zoning ordinances are enforced. They're they're enforced through complaints. We receive a complaint and the zoning enforcement and team follows up on that. They look at the special use permit. They read that it has conditions that are not being followed, and then that's when a citation is issued. So we don't go randomly check all the businesses, but we follow up on complaints that we receive.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, for the
Yes.
applicant. Can you hear me, Ms. Geisler?
Yes, I can.
How long have you been operating with your restaurant?
It had been empty for about 4 or 5 years, and before that, it was operational for about 3 years. And I just signed this lease with the current tenant in October.
Now, if we deny the special use, the conditional use permit or special use permit, how will that affect the way you're going to conduct business there?
Well, if you deny it, I'm pretty much, unless a restaurant should come in and just operate a restaurant, but it's set up so as a patio, and they would want, I'm sure, anyone to take advantage and have some alcohol, be able to sell alcohol. So it would really limit my tenants to operate there. But I don't get.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions either for the applicant or for the planning staff?
Peñas, one question.
Yes, sir.
¿Cuántas mesas hay en el restaurante? Excuse me. ¿Me podría decir cuántas mesas hay en el restaurante?
How many tables are there in the restaurant, Ms. Geisler?
I couldn't hear. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, how many tables does the restaurant have?
To be honest, right now there's about 6 tables out there.
Okay.
I know the patio itself has about 1,200 square feet.
So basically the restaurant is going to operate out in the patio. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's kind of like when Chando Alderete was there some years ago.
Yes, he was our previous.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. ¿Oíste tú, Rafael?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Rafael,
Yes, sir. He said yes.
yes? Okay. All right.
Sí,
Anybody else have any
escuché.
questions from the commission?
Mi pregunta es, quiero saber cuánta gente va a estar ahí y cuántos lugares de auto hay.
I could barely hear that. What was that?
The occupancy, what is the occupancy in the parking spaces are
How many
24, but
people-
that's for
And how many spaces there for cars?
For parking is 22 required.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, we also own the property next to 1702, which would be 1706, and the parking's really the issue. I can provide up to 10 more parking by taking away from the other property we have.
Is this 1702
That would
Chihuahua?
help the cost.
Rafa, can you ask her if this is 1702 Chihuahua that she's referring to?
Ms. Geisler, is this 1702 Chihuahua that you're referring to?
No, well, 1702 we have a but we also own 1706, and we're able to continue the parking lot from 1702 on to 1706. And when I did it, it's an additional 10 to 12 parkings that I can provide.
Well, that would satisfy the challenge or the concerns we had with parking.
Is that lot residential? This is Ugale.
Yeah.
It's zone B1 right now.
Oh, but what?
It's
Zone B3.
Yeah, it's Zone B3.
Dueñas, yo creo que si el problema era el estacionamiento y tenemos mesas al aire libre y tenemos espacios suficientes. Con la
Mr. Dueñas, I'm sorry, we're having a very difficult time hearing you. I know you're connecting
No have
from your,
problem.
Commissioner Dueñas is out of town and he might have some difficulty connecting.
I think, Mr. Sherman and Kirby, I think that what Mr. Dueñas is trying to say is that if the parking was a problem now that you mentioned that you own that property, that I personally feel, and I think Mr. Dueñas will side with me, that we should go ahead and approve the permit so they can go ahead and open the business and go on with the restaurant.
Is that your motion?
Yes, I didn't make, you have not closed the public hearing, that's why I didn't make a motion, but yes, that would be a motion, Mr. Chairman.
So your motion is to close the public hearing and approve the SUP.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
We have a
I'll
motion
second
on the
that
floor. Do we
motion.
have a second?
This is Ugalde. I'll second that motion. I'm looking at Google Earth also, and that property she's mentioning that she could add additional parking spaces. It looks like there is access from the
Okay.
side. There's a gate and there's a vacant lot there or space available.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 4, Block 1, La Fawn subdivision, Phase 2, located at 3620 South US Highway 83, from a B3 to a B4. Yes, sir, Kirby?
The applicant is River Sea Properties Limited. Gerardo Benavides is the applicant. As you mentioned, this is 3620 South Highway US 83. It is currently Zone B3, and they're requesting to go to B4, which is our Highway Commercial District. The proposed use is a restaurant. As you'll note, a restaurant is approved in more zones than B4, but going to the B4 allows them to serve alcohol as of right, so they don't have to get a special use permit. There were 5 letters sent to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for and 0 against. Here's the general location, located in South Laredo. Here is the aerial view. Here's a street view of the property. And here is the current zoning. You can see it's Zone B3, surrounded by B3 and across the street from B4. And here is the future land use map showing this area designated as neighborhood mixed use. Staff supports the proposed zone change, although it's not in conformance with the future land use map that identifies this area as neighborhood mixed use. It does fit in the surrounding uses, and we think it would be a good fit for what's there on US Highway 83. Here's the proposed motion when you're ready to approve or deny the zone change. And here's the number for the public to call in should they wish to voice their.
Very good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I do have Mr. Gerardo Benavides to answer any questions from the commission.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Benavides.
Hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
No, but I don't know if anybody has any questions. Basically, the reason we just we're actually setting the building right now due to COVID. That location did get affected and we had to close down. And we have the building up for sale, and basically the song change is because we want to have a broader audience. We've had several calls come in just to see the zoning, and they were looking for B4. So basically we decided to see if y'all could help us to do the zone change, and that's why we input the application.
Okay, very good, thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Benavides? Does anybody on the commission have any questions for the staff? With none heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
Commissioner Lugo, if no one else is online, I'll make a motion to close public comments and approve with staff's comments.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Lugo. Do we have a second?
Dueñas.
Narvaez seconds it. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning 3.92628 acres out of 15.196 acre tract. This is situated in Porción 35, Abstract 546 of the Jose Miguel Diaz, original grantee, and conveyed to HFK Development LLC. This is located west of Ejido Avenue and north of Dolly Richter and Bianca Lane from an R1 to an R2 multifamily residential. Kirby?
Yes, sir. The applicant is HFK Development LLC. Is the owner. Forest Nance Engineering is the applicant. We described the location and the request, which is R1 to R2. Proposed use is multifamily. We sent out 8 letters to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for and 0 against. General location of the area is South Laredo. An aerial view showing the property and the undeveloped surrounding area. An aerial view showing the surrounding area. And the zoning, current zoning, which is R1, there is R1A to the and R1MH to the southeast. And the future land use map, which designates this area as low density residential. Staff supports the proposed zone change, even though it's not in conformance with the future land use map. R2 would allow for multifamily, a slightly, what we feel would be a denser residential product, but this is not going to be, we're not anticipating garden style apartments here, but something more along the lines as duplexes or something similar, and the applicant can speak to that. We feel like the zone change will not adversely impact the neighborhood, and we do feel like there is a need for a mix of housing products, as we've spoken to many times. It's not good to have high density next to very low density, but it's good to have medium density mixed in with low density, medium density mixed in with higher density. We feel like this will be something along the lines of medium density. Proposed motion is to recommend approval or denial to City Council when you're ready, and the number for the public to call in when you open the public hearing.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the proposed zone change, for or against?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I do have Mr. Wayne Nance. Should the commission have any questions on the line?
All right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Wayne. We look forward to your support of this motion, and we look forward to getting this through. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Does anybody on the commission have any questions either for Mr. Nance?
This is Ugalde. I have a question on the access. Where would they be accessing again the property? One road, 2 roads?
It would be accessing Bianca, which will be renamed Dolly Richter, along its frontage. There will be an extension from Ejido. As part of the plating, it's part of the long-range thoroughfare plan to extend a minor collector or a minor arterial through here. Along the north boundary line of the orange subdivision that you see there will be an extension of Bianca Lane, and they will be accessing that.
Okay, thank you.
Which eventually leads to Ejido. Yes.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions? What are the wishes of the commission?
A motion to close public hearing and approve. Sorry, what is this again? Zone change? Yeah.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second from Mr. Dovalina. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, motion carries. Thank you. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 11.23 acres out of 15.196 acre tract in the Jose Miguel Diaz original grantee, and it's conveyed to HFK Development. This is located west of Ejido, south of Dolly Richter and Bianca Lane, from R1 to R1A Single Family Reduced District. Kirby.
Yes, sir. The applicant is HFK Development LLC, who's the owner. Forrest Nance Engineering, the applicant. This is a request to go from R1 to R1A, as you mentioned. We've mailed out 36 letters to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for and 0 against. This is in the same vicinity of the previous that you just made a motion on. And you can see the current zoning is R1, and they're proposing to go to R1A. And the future land use map shows this area is low density residential, which R1A is a category in. Staff supports the proposed zone change, and we feel like it'll be a good fit for the neighborhood and a needed product in that area. Here's the proposed motion when you're ready. It's to recommend approval or denial to the City Council. And here's the phone number for the public to call in to provide public comment.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the zone change, for or against?
Mr. Chairman, I do have Mr. Wayne Nance on the line for any questions from the commission.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate your support on this one as well, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions either for Mr. Nance or for the planning staff? With none heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing and recommend the zone change. That advice.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Ugalde.
Second from Ugalde. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, the motion carries. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 35, block 1, Cuatro Vientos Sur, phase 5, located west of Ejido Avenue and south of Dolly Richter and Bianca Lane, from R1MH to R1A. Yes, sir, Kirby?
Yes. Similar to the last one, HFK Development LLC, the owner, Forrest Nance Engineering, the applicant, representative. A request to go from R1MH, manufactured housing, single family zone, to R1A, single family reduced area zone. Proposed use is residential. 84 letters were mailed out, 0 for, 0 against. It is, again, the similar vicinity, but the need for it is to take care of this property that was left out of the proper zoning. And we're making that correction now. And so that it will be in line with the surrounding. Here's these current zoning map. You can see that currently it's R1MH, but their request is to R1A. And here's a view of the future land use map, showing this area as parks. Staff supports the proposed zone change, and for the same reasons the last two, it's going to fit in with the plan of the. When you have the applicant on, he'll do a better job of explaining a need for changing this strip of land. And here is the motion, proposed motion, when you're ready to recommend approval or denial. And here's the number for the public to call in and comment.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against? For or against?
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Wayne Nance on the line for any questions.
All right, put him on.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate your support on this one as well, and I'm here for any questions again.
Wayne, I have a question. I'm trying to figure out what this little piece of property is, or it doesn't look to me like you can make any lots out of it. Are you going to extend the current lots, or what is this?
I can explain that for you. This used to be a gas main easement. Those gas mains have been abandoned, and the right-of-way, the gas main right-of-way, has reverted back to the owner.
Okay.
And so along the very thin strip that you see on the west side or your left side,
Yes.
Those will be backyards in that R1A to the left. But the green strip that you see between Ejido and the future subdivision will be dedicated to the park as a linear park system.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you.
What's the width of the strip?
I believe it's 60 feet.
And that's gonna be a park?
A linear park, yes, sir. Well, the idea is that these neighborhoods could use this linear park. They have a layout, and Rogelio shared that with Gracie a while back, and it's to get the people in this neighborhood over to the school, and just to have a linear park. We can't do much. Linear parks are, is a good thing. So.
More like a trail.
A trail, yes, sir.
So I guess along Larry's question is, Wayne, this is going to be more like if it's a 60-footer, it's going to be more like a trail system, a paved or rubberized trail, or what are we looking at, or what are you thinking there? What are you?
Well, with 60 feet, we're not going to pave, the whole thing. We'd just put a small trail in there. I believe that there might be some other amenities that we'd have to work out with the park. But I guess the primary thing is just to provide a linear walking trail for the residents in the area between Ejido and the subdivision to the west. Rather than just leave it, fallow, if you will, and collect trash or anything like that. I mean, once we make it into something used by the public, it becomes a betterment instead of something that works against the neighborhood.
Well, Wayne, wouldn't that be more of a problem for the owners of the lots?
Say that again?
Wouldn't that little piece of property there become more of a problem for the neighborhood there? You're going real close to their backyards. I don't know. I just question. I mean, but it seems like, you're going to have people walking in your backyards pretty much.
Well, it is 60 feet. It's been there as a gas easement for a long time. I mean, so it's just, it's been there non-used. But I think there are a couple of other places around town where they do use these, and they turn them into linear parks, and it ends up just being a betterment for the area because you have, people walking these trails rather than it's just a place for people to, dump stuff.
I think that's what's going to happen. That it's going to be a place for people to dump stuff, and it's going to be a headache for maintenance for parks, and the amenity as a park has a very low margin as far as being considered a park, because all you have is a dirt trail with nothing else added to it.
Mr. Chairman, this is
We're willing to work with the Parks Department on what they need for the area. We're not going to not do anything. But right now, there's nothing going on right now. We feel that whatever steps that we take is going to be a positive direction for this area. And I think that contributing this to the park is definitely a betterment for the area. And it's too small. 60 feet is still a pretty good size right of way. That's a big strip. It's bigger than a normal street. And so it's certainly something that's usable. And if we just don't do anything with it, well, then I don't see how that benefits anybody. If anything,
I guess I got a question for them. Has the Parks Department or the Parks Board approved this yet, or has it gone to it yet? No, right?
No, sir.
We have not. We have notified them about that. I know that we've spoken with Gracie about this because she did have these very similar questions. I don't know if she's there, but she went over it with Rogelio, what we intend to do. And we will introduce this to the Parks Board, but I mean, first things first, we need to see if it, you know, this is something that that the commission wants to consider.
So-
If we don't do anything, it just stays the way it is,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
This is an L-shaped,
Nothing happens to it at all. I'm
this is
confident
this
step
is
in the
an
right direction.
L-shaped area, right? What is the size of the thin
Oh,
side?
Can you put that map back on of the proposed area? Okay,
So what's the width of the small section?
The small section, I believe, is 30 feet, but that's not going to be, that's going to be backyards. That's going to be, if you will, acquiesced by the lots and the residential area to the left. Only the thicker section that you see in the bottom, the 60-foot area, that is going to become the linear park.
Are you going to continue that linear park west, Wayne?
We can, because that is the same easement, and it's the same gas main easement that exists through there. But certainly, I mean, getting that all the way to the proposed middle school is ideal. That's the whole idea. That's the concept behind this.
So just to clarify for the commissioners, what's in question right now is not the trail. That trail could be done without the zone change because the zoning would allow for that in either zone. Right now it's R1MH. As you can see here, well, he's requesting R1A so that the north or the part that's going north and south can be utilized by the R1A project that you just motioned, that will go to council as well for a zone change. The property to the west, that will be part of the same project. And what we're hoping here is that this linear park will continue east and west and not jog up north and south for that unused strip of 30. So again, what's in question here is not the trail. That is a determination when it comes back to you in the form of a plat. Then we can start talking about that trail. But for right now, the question is just the zone change to R1A, which really benefits the north and south property, or the part of the property going north and south, the strip going north and south. So in other words, save the comments for the trail. That's coming when they submit a plat.
no, I mean, I think we all understand the one that's going north and south. That's a pretty easy one. I think everybody's a little bit more concerned about the one that's on the south side there. I think I guess my question to that is, what if the Parks Board in the future doesn't accept that now? What are you going to do? Are you going to sell that property to the adjacent property owners or?
Well, it's an easement, Commissioner, so
Well, the easement has been done away with. That's why he's rezoning it. It's been reverted back. That's what he said.
He said he vacated the easement.
Unless I misunderstood.
It's a lot. It's definitely, it's a platted lot. And to simplify things, that's the way it was platted. The easement, the former owners, the gas people that had an easement over it, not the owners of the lot, subsequently, they've abandoned their rights. The main is no longer active. And so the owner has full rights back to this.
Right.
We're actually, this zone change is really to make it really clean, because the 30-foot strip is just backyards. And I'm not even sure if the R1MH would be problematic for the R1A next to it, but we just, for the sake of cleanliness, we wanted to make this all the same. I'm sure the parks, the 60-foot section can be dedicated to the park as it's zoned right now, or the R1A. I think we're just trying to make this real clean so that it's all consistent in the area. And I'll let staff, expand on that if they need to.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. It seems to me that actually they want to create parkland to increase their percentage of parks for the development that they're planning. What I see there is a need for an ingress-egress easement into the subdivisions that they're coming in with. I would, if they're going to be using it for park, why would we want to change the zone right now? I think it should be more, it should work better when it comes to us with something that it's more detailed as to the need of that particular easement. I still see that at 60 feet, we can have an ingress and egress easement into a subdivision. Because that subdivision is right on the back of two subdivisions that, so how are they going to connect that? I heard that there's going to be an extension into a hill, but that's only one entrance. So that particular easement will work as a second exit or entrance to the subdivision. I think that we should wait to act on this particular item. It's something that I looked at it and I could understand why they were doing it, but now I probably understand that they want to kind of use it for park to avoid giving more park area that will be more usable for the community. I don't see anybody there taking advantage as a park for that particular easement. At 60 feet, I mean, with both walls of the with fences of the existing subdivision, I don't see anybody actually enjoying that. As far as I was saying that it's going to be for cleaning, and I mean those words I don't think they apply with it. I would make a motion to deny it at this time and then come back when they do the
Yeah.
Can we table this time certain? Would you all mind if we table this time certain so we can?
Mr. Chairman, I have
your comments and your
questions.
concerns.
I'll make a motion to table it if it's allowed, if they close the public hearing.
All right, before
I
we
still
take
have
the
some
motion,
comments,
somebody else wanted to speak, go ahead.
This is
Was it-
Ugalde. I have a question. I'm trying to understand this correctly. So to the right of that, I see something that's highlighted as parks. Is that currently a park or is that green space? What is that right now on the map?
To the right of Ejido, is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
yeah, let me get to that page. Give me 1 second. Yeah, to the right of Ejido. What is that? It says park. And there's lots overlap.
Well, this is the future land use map. This is not the zoning map. This is the zoning map. But on the future land use map, this area was designated parks, but it was ignored whenever the
Okay.
zoning came
So-
in and development came in.
So that easement right now, that connects to a proposed school? Is that just by coincidence?
Are you speaking of the one?
The easement, the gas easement, that right now, I heard the engineer mention that that's going to eventually connect to a proposed school.
If it continues west, there will be a proposed school to the west. as I
So
understand.
maybe, I don't know why I think it's semantics, but it's not a park per se, but it is a trail. And if you design it correctly, I've seen many subdivisions with backyard trails, linear trails that connect to a larger parks in many designs in Austin and different types of cities. So if he's wanting to do this and do it properly, I mean, you're not going to have brush there. If it's going to be a trail, the aesthetics have to match, right? Whether it's gravel or whatever you need to do the trail. So all the comments I've heard from the commissioners right now, you could do that. You could dump trash right now. I mean, it's a nuisance right now. It's probably overgrown grass that needs to be cut every so often because you got rodents that live there, right?
Well, I think,
So-
you bring up a point and looking at the map right now, if there is going to be a school to the west of this, obviously this would be a way to connect that school from the neighborhood that's on the other side of Ejido on the east side.
Isn't that what we want? We want more
Yeah,
walkability
I mean,
within
that's, in looking at it now, that in that particular way, it makes sense, if that trail continues to where that school's going to be. I mean, yeah, it's a connection to the neighborhood.
It would
Makes
be
sense.
ideal to develop all of it at once, but we can't. They have to
Yeah,
do it in pieces.
makes
So you
sense.
got to break some eggs to make an omelet, right?
Yeah,
So
okay.
The only question I have is once you approve it as park or trail, then who is responsible for setting up a trail, not just dirt?
So a little bit of recap on this again, and then I'll answer that question. So this right now is one lot, and you can't request two zones on one lot. one lot has to have the same zone. Right now, it's all R1MH, which is the orange, but the property, the lot to the west of this that you just recommended the council to zone R1A, the applicant wants to also make this lot in question R1A because the applicant is going to utilize the west portion, the portion running north and south, as part of this project when they come in and plat it.
Right.
But the remaining portion down here, this is already developed, so this couldn't be developed into anything. They're proposing, of course, you're not voting on it now and you're not deciding on it now, but they're proposing in the future that this would be platted as a park, turned over to the city as part of a park easement, as part of the park's dedication requirement when you plat a property for residential development. At that time, when you dedicate property, you dedicate the land, you also have to pay some fees that go to pay for a park, or in this case, a linear park. So the city would be utilizing the park dedication, the land, and also the fee that's given by the developer, would utilize those in combination to then set up in this case, a linear park, but in other cases, a normal park. That's how the
And
process works.
at that point of the dedication, then the Parks Department takes over and fixing the aesthetics of the
Yes, that's
area.
correct. But again, this is for a future, when it comes in as a platted project, then you'll see it, and then you'll see comments from Parks Department saying, yes, we like this, or no, we don't, or it needs to change, or whatnot. But at this point, because it's all one lot and they want to utilize the north-south portion, part running north and south for the project, that's why they're getting the zone R1A, so that it can be the same as the development they're going to be coming in with. That's R1A.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on the commission?
Is the school that they're building the one up in the hill, and is this area that we're talking about in that low area, and is it a floodplain?
Anything in the floodplain is reviewed by staff. That is a process that when something's submitted for the planning process. We don't typically review that during. Well, I know you're not talking about this property in question right now, but I couldn't answer that without doing the research with the flood.
If you go on,
do look at that.
If you go on Cuatro Vientos and you look to the west and you see where the school is on a hill, and this happens to be a low valley, and I would assume that the water from the surrounding area all goes into this area.
Well, that assumption might be dangerous. There are floodplain maps, and we definitely review those when any kind of development comes through the planning process.
Mm-hmm. Oye, Larry, but we're looking at, I think it's Ejido, the street that's on that east side, on this particular property.
No tiene Cuatro Vientos en un lado, no?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought it said Cuatro Vientos.
Back, Kirby, let's put that map back so we can look at what's going on here. All right, let's see, what are you looking at? Cuatro Vientos is way over here.
Yeah, this is the development to the west. If you go down Cuatro Vientos going south and you look to the right, you see this area and it slopes down.
Yes,
and you
it
can
does.
see where the school is being built up on a hill.
I'm trying to remember where that's. Yeah, that's the one that you're talking about, the one that's close to that water tank?
Yeah, it's just below the water tank.
Yeah.
The water tank would be somewhere left of this map.
Wayne, did you hear that, Wayne? Do you know more or less where that school's located on this map?
Yes, it's to the right. If you're looking at this orange and yellow right now, and you take this easement that we're talking about, this strip, this 60-foot strip, you cross Ejido, you continue, it has a little dog leg there. When you get to the other side of that street, I forget the name of it, that's the school, the one at the base of the water tank that you're talking about. So this 60-foot linear park it eventually goes directly to the middle school that they're building right there at the base of the elevator tank.
So it's to the left.
No floodplains here. This is all.
This is Vientos Road, Larry, that we're looking at on this map.
No sé qué es.
It's Vientos, so.
Oh, it's not Cuatro Vientos, it's
No,
Vientos.
it's Vientos. It's Vientos Road. It's not Cuatro Vientos. It's Vientos.
Yes.
So it's not. I think Cuatro Vientos is still further to the east.
Right. Yes, it's further to the east.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, I know the area.
okay. All right, anybody else have any questions? If not, there is a motion by Jorge Dominguez to deny. Do we have a second to that motion?
I thought his motion was to table.
Jorge,
Yeah, since if we do the zone change, Mr. Chairman, there's no guarantee that they will bring that as a park. I actually see that eventually that will not be part of a park. But my motion is to table it unless the commissioners wants to go other ways. I mean, I don't have a problem, but my motion is to table it.
okay.
Sir.
If you have a motion on the floor to table this item, is there a second to the motion?
Commissioner, excuse me.
Yes.
I'll second it for the sake of discussion.
All right, we have a second on the table. Discussion.
If you allow me, Commissioners, we have some training on Robert's Rules of Order. And one of the interesting details that was brought out just in Robert's Rules of Orders is that you can entertain 3 motions at a time. In other words, someone else could make another motion to approve, and if you decide you could, or recommend approval, you could see how that goes before you decide on the motion of tabling. Just a little tidbit of Robert's
Precedence.
Kirby, I guess before we do that, I just want to clarify. If I understood correctly, they need to do the zone change so they can use the I guess like the skinny part of the property to continue whatever they want to do, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you also mentioned that the discussion of a park, I guess we got ahead of ourselves. Maybe if we would have never mentioned the park, we would have probably got through with this discussion a lot sooner, because
probably
you made a comment that the park could be done with or without a zone change today, correct?
Absolutely.
So the fact, I asked the commissioners to ignore for the length of time the mention of a park, because it really is irrelevant whether we do a zone change or not a zone change. And we look forward to the bigger picture of what the developer wants to do so that they can continue with the project. And that's my comment. Am I correct on that, Kirby?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so with that being said, we can make another motion.
Yeah, according to Robert's Rules of Order, you can actually have multiple motions on the table and you can decide which one you want to vote.
The motion to table takes precedence over any other motion. And that's in Robert's Rules of Order. I disagree with what you're saying.
We just received a training on Friday, last Friday, on a national expert on Robert's Rules of Orders. That was one of the interesting points they made, is that you can entertain multiple motions up to 3. So that way you can get a feel for which motion you want to go with, rather than having to potentially deny the tabling if there's enough commissioners that want to go ahead and approve this. But if there's not, then you already denied the tabling. See how that could create a problem? So that's just Robert Rules of Orders.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to have a vote call, and if the commissioners think that it shouldn't be tabled, I mean, that's perfectly all right. I mean, this is not an idea to affect the developer. I think it's for the purpose of the well-being of the subdivision, the subdivisions that are existing right now. So I would like for you to call a vote on it, and if it doesn't pass, I mean, I wouldn't. If they want to go ahead and bring another motion, I don't have a problem.
Okay, let's do that. I think it'll be less confusing this way. All right. Then those who are not in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye, and I'm going to ask for names.
Diaz, aye.
Diaz.
Lugo.
Ugalde, aye.
Lugo.
Narvaez, aye.
Narvaez.
Ugalde, aye.
Who's the other one? Ugalde?
Ugalde.
And I am also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have those who wish to table it are going to be Jorge Dominguez, Larry Dovalina, and Mr. Dueñez. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So therefore, it fails. I am open for another motion.
Commissioner Lugo, I make a motion to approve the zone change.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Ugalde.
Second by Ugalde? I'm having
Yes.
trouble hearing.
Second, Ugalde.
Got it. All right. Those who are not in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye, Dominguez.
Dominguez,
Aye, Dovalina.
Novalina. Anybody else? Then the motion carries. Thank you. Next item. Amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 9.87 acres out of Porción 35, Abstract 546, the Jose M. Diaz original grantee conveyed to ALS Holdings. Go Alejandro E. Villarreal III from R1A to R1B. Kirby?
The owner is ALS Laredo Holdings. The representative is Sherfy Engineering. You described the location. It's R1A currently, and they're requesting to go to R1B. The proposed use is a slightly higher density residential project. And we mailed 34 letters to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for and 0 against. Here's the general location of the area, South Laredo. Here's an aerial view of the property. Here's a nearby street view. Here's the current zoning. It's currently zoned R1A. And here's the future land use map designating this area as medium density residential. Staff supports the proposed zone change. It's in conformance with the future land use map, and it is conducive to the surrounding area. Here's the motion to recommend approval or denial to the city council. And here's the number for the public to call in should they wish to comment.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against? For or against?
Mr. Chairman, I do have Mr. Frank Estrada on the line for any questions from the commission.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Frank Estrada with Sherfy Engineering, and we're in favor of the proposed zone change, and I'm here to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Frank. Anybody in the commission have any questions for the engineer? Does anybody in the commission have any questions for the staff? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
This is Ugalde, motion to approve.
Motion to close the public hearing and approve, okay? We have a second.
Second, Dominguez.
Dominguez seconds. Those that are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, motion carries. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning a 2.50 acre tract of land out of the west side of tract 11-H, more or less, situated in Porción 10, Tomas Sanchez, Abstract 280, Webb County, Texas, conveyed to Marcus Express LLC from AG to M1. Yes, sir, Kirby.
The applicant is Maria de la Luz Marquez, who's the owner, and Pewe Consulting LLC is the engineer and representative. As you mentioned, it's a request to go from the ag zone to the M1 light manufacturing district. Proposed use is for industrial. We've mailed out 5 letters to surrounding neighbors. We've received 0 for and 0 against. General area, just north of Vines Road, northwest Laredo. The aerial view showing the lot. A street view. The current zoning, which shows this area as ag. And a future land use map that shows this area designated as light industrial. Staff supports the proposed zone change. It is in line with, it's in conformance with the future land use map, and it is conducive to the surrounding uses in the area. And proposed motion when you're ready to recommend approval or denial to the city council. And the number for the public to call in should they wish to comment.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the zone change?
Mr. Chairman, I do have Mr. Oscar Castillo on the line if there's any questions from the commission.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and staff. This is Oscar Castillo with Sewa Consulting. We're in favor of the proposed change, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does there anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Castillo?
Is this east of Santa Isabel Creek?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Is this property east of Santa Isabel Creek?
That is correct. That is correct. It's several hundred feet, but yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Castillo or the staff? No other questions heard. What are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to close public hearing, support staff's recommendation, and approve the zone change.
Second.
A second by who? All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, review and consideration of the following master plans. First one, review and consideration of the Pinnacle Industrial Center Master Plan. The intent is industrial? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, the applicant is FM 1472 Investments, the engineer of record, Gilpin Engineering Company, approximately 772 acres located west of FM 1472 and north of El Pico. The proposed zoning for this development is M1. Proposed use, that should read industrial, and the proposed number of lots is 66. General location, aerial view, street view, and the revised master plan. Comments from planning, water utilities and traffic safety, and the proposed motion.
Okay. Do we have the engineer of record on?
No, Mr. Chairman, the engineer of record is not on the line at this time.
Okay. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for the staff? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
I move to approve the reconsideration of the Pinnacle Industry Center Master Plan.
I'll second the motion, Dominguez.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, motion carries. Thank you. The next item, review and reconsideration of the Green Subdivision Master Plan. The intent is residential. The purpose of this revision is to configure phase 4 by adding a new phase 12. Yes, sir.
For the record, the applicant is WW Escondido. The engineer of record is Peva Consulting, approximately 53 acres located north of FM 1472 and east of Peoples Boulevard. And the zoning is R1A, R1B, R1MH, and B1. The proposed use is residential and the proposed number of lots is 330. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed master plan, comments from planning, engineering and parks, and the proposed motion.
Okay, Ralph, before we go further, can you back it up into the master plan and show me exactly where is phase 4 that they want to go to phase 12? Can you point that out to me, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the easternmost edge of the master plan, as it curves around, and then you see a bit of a larger lot at the bottom, That's the change right there that's coming in.
Okay,
That area is currently unplatted, so they're reconfiguring that little space right there.
so that's unplatted, that'll become phase 12.
That is correct.
What was that before? I mean, I'm seeing that it looks like a drainage easement or utility easement, or what was that?
At one time, those were platted lots, and what they did was that the Kirby, it's a little bit lower, Kirby, I'm sorry. Right there, right there. Those were originally platted lots that were integrated into the other phase, but the developer chose to abandon those to help facilitate the sale, so they abandoned those lots, and now they're coming back. Or they vacated that section, I'm sorry.
They're vacating, so phase 12 is basically vacating, is that what it is?
It was previously vacated, but now they want to adjust the master plan because one of the items that's coming up is for the actual preliminary of that phase.
So what's the purpose of phase 12? I mean, I see just a blank, nope, nothing there.
The purpose will be multifamily condominium type. It's my understanding based on the request from the engineer.
Okay, so I guess I'll ask, the question is, what is the method of entrance to this particular phase 12?
It will be through the People's Boulevard right there, yes.
Okay. What is People's Boulevard classified as? Is it a minor collector or?
Let me see here. One moment, please. It is actually not classified on the long-range survey plan.
So it's just a local residential.
Rafa, on the plan,
Yes.
does it show the right of way?
I believe it does. One quick second. Let me get there.
Our major thoroughfares are typically on our thoroughfare plan, but there are.
This is probably just a local residential collector at probably 35 back to back, something like that.
It's 60 foot wide. 60 foot wide.
60 foot wide. So, okay. All right. Do we have the engineer on the line?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oscar Castillo from PEWA Consulting is on the line to answer any questions.
Okay.
Hello, Chairman, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Oscar Castillo. We concur with the comments, and we're here to answer any questions. Just, if I may, it is a minor collector. It is a 60 foot, 41 back to back.
41 back to back, minor collector. Okay, thank you. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Mr. Castillo or the staff? I have a question, Mr. Castillo. Phase 12, approximately how big is this particular phase in terms of acreage?
It's 0.61.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and as Mr. Vidal was saying, the lots used to be long, the existing lots, and nobody wanted them, and the developer then chose to vacate those and so that he could move those, and now this is the remainder of those four lots that were the back part. This was the back part, so they left them at 110, which is the typical depth, and this is to answer your question, this is 0.6 acres.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission for anybody, for the?
Who is the owner of the property?
Who's the owner, Oscar?
Huh?
Escondido Development.
Who?
Escondido Development.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'll abstain.
Okay. Anybody else on the commission have any questions? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion motion to approve the reconsideration of the Green Subdivision Master Plan, net advice.
Second, Dominguez.
We have a motion and a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries with one abstention, Mr. Dovalina. The next item.
Thank you.
Review and reconsideration of the Rodriguez Ranch subdivision master plan. The intent is residential and commercial? Yes, sir.
For the record, the applicant is Rodriguez Certuche Development, engineer of record, Howland Engineering and Surveying, approximately 589 acres, located east of International and east of Bob Bullock. The development is currently not zoned, it is currently outside the city limits. The proposed use is residential and commercial, and the proposed number of lots is 2,075. General location, aerial view, partial street view, and the proposed master plan. Comments from planning? Water utilities and traffic safety, parks and recreation, and the proposed motion.
Okay, do we have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Villarreal is on the line.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. Ricardo Villarreal, Howland Engineering. Here to discuss the master plan for the Rodriguez Ranch. I do have just some clarifications on some comments. We concur with the majority of them. There's just one that it's comment number. It kind of coincides with planning comment number. Let me see here, number 5, and traffic comment number 1. It is classified as a minor arterial, like the planning comment states on number 5. However, on traffic comment number 1, it's not a major collector. It's actually a minor arterial. And so the right-of-way should be 90 feet. We show it as 80. It's drawn in as 90, but there was a typo in there as 80. But a minor collector is a 90-foot wide based on the comprehensive plan. Unless staff wants to chime in here, but last that we did our research, I believe it's 90.
Kirby?
We have the traffic director with us, Dan McGee. Dan, would you like to speak to that comment? You're muted, Dan.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, if that's what it should be classified as, 90 feet, that's fine. We'll verify it, but if it's correct with Mr. Villarreal says, we'll be okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else have any questions from the commission on, or I'm sorry, Rick, I'm sorry, do you have any other comments to make on the proposed action?
No, sir. Actually, I believe we can, we concur with all the other comments. We'll make the adjustments as needed. That was just a clarification there. And now, I'm open to any questions that anybody may have.
Okay. Anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Villarreal? Anybody have any questions for the city staff?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Okay, those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Next item is the consideration of the following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. First one is a preliminary consideration of the plat of Harmony Hills subdivision, phase 1 at the Rodriguez Ranch. The intent is residential.
For the record, the applicant is Rodriguez Certuche Development. The engineer of record is Howland Engineering. Approximately 25.6 acres of land located east of International and north of Juan Escutia. The developer has requested initial zoning for this area to be established as R1A through the annexation process. It is residential and the proposed lots are 146. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, comments from planning, water utilities and traffic safety, parks and recreation, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
Okay. Is the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'm here, same Ricardo Villarreal, Howland Engineering. Again, same comment as the master plan, but it's been clarified. We'll just verify it with planning and traffic on traffic comment number 1. I do just want to make a comment for the record on some utilities comments. We will provide the master plan. We have had discussions with the utilities department. They have given us direction on where to tie in our sanitary sewer, and any details, all master plans will be submitted for approval in the one-stop shop process. But I just want to make that a comment for the record. Other than that, if anybody else has any comments, I'm happy to answer them. Or any questions, I'm sorry.
All right. Does anybody in the commission have any questions? With no questions heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. The next item, preliminary consideration of the replat of lot 16 and 17, block 12, Lomas del Sur subdivision, unit 5, lot 21 and 22, block 12, Lomas del Sur subdivision, unit 13, and a 14.69 acre tract out of a part of Porción 35 Abstract 546 into the Cigarroa Middle School plat. The intent is a middle school. Yes, sir.
Rafa, you're muted.
For the record, thank you. For the record, the applicant is Laredo Independent School District. The engineer of record is Howland Engineering and Surveying. Approximately 23.2 acres located south of Lomas del Sur and west of Ejido. The current zoning is AG, B1, and R1A. The proposed use of middle school and the proposed number of lots is 1. General location, aerial view, street view. This is the current as platted and the proposed plat. Comments from planning and engineering, water utilities and traffic safety, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do we have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Villarreal is on the line.
Again, Mr. Chairman, good evening. Still here. Howland Engineering, Ricardo Villarreal, representing the developer of this track. We concur with all comments. The projected or the proposed use for this track is for the new Cigarroa Middle School that'll be relocated to this site. I'm here to answer any questions that any of you all may have.
Thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions? With none heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Dominguez.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Doña.
Did I hear a second?
Sí, second, Dueñas, please.
Dueña seconds it. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Next item, preliminary consideration of the replat of 2 acres of a 2-acre vacated tract as recorded in volume 2086, page 278 of map records in Webb County, Texas, and lot 2, block 1, Beto subdivision, phase 1 into lot 1, block 1, Darnita, Sanders plat. The intent is industrial, yes.
For the record, the applicant is Dariana Investments LLC. The engineer of record is Peva Consulting, approximately 2 acres located north of East Saunders and west of Bob Bullock Loop. The current zoning is B4, the proposed use industrial, and the proposed number of lots is 146. I'm sorry, lot 1. General location, aerial view, street view, the as plat and the proposed plat, comments from planning, engineering, fire and water utilities, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do we have the engineer record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Castillo is on the line.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and staff. Oscar Castillo, representing the owner, Ampego Consulting. I'm here to answer. We concur with the comments, and we're here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions? With none heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, not advice.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
And we have a second. All
Second.
those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. The next item, preliminary consideration of the plat of Green subdivision phase 12. The intent is multifamily.
For the record, the applicant is WW Escondido, engineer of record, Peva Consulting, approximately 0.6 acres, located southeast corner of Peoples Boulevard and Port Texas Drive. The zoning is R1MH, proposed use residential, multifamily, and the proposed number of lots is 1. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, comments from planning and water utilities, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
Okay. We have the engineer of record on? Yes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Castillo?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, staff, Oscar Castillo, representing Escondido, Ampego Consulting. We concur with the comments, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions?
For the record, I abstain.
All right. If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve Dominguez.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas, second. Those who are not in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye. With none heard, motion carries. The next item, preliminary consideration of the plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Los Pinos subdivision, Unit 2. The intent is residential.
For the record, the applicant is Norma Trujillo. The engineer of record is Premier Engineering and Surveying, 0.8 acres located south of Pine Street and west of Ejido. The current zoning is R1. The proposed use is residential. The proposed number of lots is 1. General location, aerial view, street view, and the proposed plat. Comments from planning, engineering and water utilities, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
Ralph, can you put the plat back on, please? I guess the question I have is, you mean to tell me this property was not platted?
Based on the records that we researched, this property was never actually platted.
Okay.
It was an unplatted area, and if you looked a little bit to the west where it says Los Pinos subdivision, that strip was previously like an unplatted area, and they brought that in separately at one time.
Okay. Okay. All right. We have the engineer of record on.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Guerra is on the line to answer any questions you may have.
This is Armando Guerra with Premier Engineering, representing the client, and we concur with staff's comments. And if y'all have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions? With none heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Ugal-
Narvaez?
Second, Ugalde.
Second by Ugalde. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. All right, we're going to move into the next phase, which is the consideration of the final plats and final replats. And I believe we have A, B, C. We have 3 particular final plats. Can we have a motion to take them all as one?
So make a motion to hear item 8, A, B, and C together.
Second.
And we have a second. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. All right, can we have a motion now?
So move, this is Ugalde, make a motion to approve item 8, A, B, and C.
Second.
And we have a second. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. We're moving now into discussion and recommendations. Item 9A is discussion recommendation regarding updates to the Land Development Code and Subdivision Ordinance. The proposed changes include the following: PUD zone minimum area requirements, PUD alterations permitted, and Board of Adjustments membership rules and setback requirements for residential zones. Kirby?
Yes, sir. Just a little information before we begin. This is not a public hearing. This is just an opportunity for us to get our input from the Planning Commission before we move on to City Council, which that will be the public hearing that will be noticed for the public. So there are 3 changes, as you mentioned, that we want to get. The first one is we need to correct the rules for the Board of Adjustment. It's a 9-member board, but only 5 vote, and there's 4 that are alternates, but it's determined by lottery. In the confusion of that, in effect, they were just operating as a 9-member board. They were all voting. And the problem was that they were voting by simple majority, and that was not the rule here. It should have been at least a required 4 out of 5. And state law backs that up. State law for Board of Adjustments require a higher threshold than a simple majority. So we're adjusting it to fix that so that it's all 9 members, because it's difficult. If you go less than 9, then you got to choose, well, which council members get an appointment and which don't. It's easier just to make it a 9-member board and just raise the requirement of a 3/4 majority for a vote. And then the next adjustment is to the dimensional standards. As you recall before, there's been interest in changing the setback requirements for, it's in our comp plan to allow for greater density where we can do it, giving more freedom to property owners for their property, allowing for more utilization of their property. However, there's been pushback on maybe it's too radical a step. We've worked out a compromise I think will be good going forward, and that is we're not going to touch the front setbacks right now. And the front setbacks are really what have an impact on the character of the neighborhood. And also, you know, there's challenges with parking and other things when you talk about the front setback. You start building in the front setback. However, in the rear setback, I think most people in the city, most residents would be on board, and I think the council members will be on board with the idea of adjusting the rear setback to allow for more buildable area. In effect, it's already happening. There's a lot of people that just go ahead and, you know, build palapas and whatnot in their backyard. What we want to do is make the rules consistent with the easements across the city, which the standard is 6 feet for an easement. And so the rear setback would go all the way to 6 feet for all the residential zones. The third change that we're proposing is for the planned unit development zone. Again, the comp plan, just like with the previous one on the setbacks, the comp plan suggests about having more creative solutions to our affordable housing crisis that's across the state and that we're being affected by. And we have a PUD zone that can allow for creative solutions like a tiny home subdivision or a townhome development. However, the PUD has a minimum acreage requirement that's rather large for residential, and what we're doing is we're suggesting to remove that minimum area requirement. We understand why it was probably there, and the idea was, well, we want to see big developments come in. But there's no reason that a smaller development can't come in, especially when we're talking about in the inner city where you may not be able to get together that many lots to make a big enough subdivision. So why not bring it down, but make sure that the standards are still there? Now, the nice thing about a PUD zone, we've seen townhome developments come in before you, but they're using the special use permit process for the townhomes. That's actually not technically legally allowed through the Land Development Code, but it's what was done in the past, and it's kind of the only solution that I guess that developers could find, because there really isn't a townhome ordinance. Now, we looked at doing that with the development community and the city staff, got them all together, and there were some challenges about codifying it. We're still working on that. We're working on that with Recode. But right now, the PUD zone would allow for townhome developments. And the nice thing is, and what should be required with any townhome development, is that there will be a site plan approval process. So, for example, somebody comes in and wants to do a PUD zone. The zone change has to go to Planning Commission and City Council. But once they get that PUD zone, they still have to come to the Planning Commission, not the City Council, but the Planning Commission. That's a very quick turnaround. It's 2 weeks when they submit the application and come to you. But they submit a site plan that says, hey, this is what it's going to look like. This is the lots. This is the setbacks. This is how we're going to get traffic in and out. This is what we're going to do with common area. This is how we're going to set it up and arrange it. And the Planning Commission gets to then decide about the certain elements in that site plan. And once it's approved, it's binding, and they have to follow it. Part of the problem with the way we've been doing in the past with using a special use permit is they say they're going to do townhomes, but they're not actually required to stick to that. And so we want to make sure that there aren't any issues going forward, not just for the development, but 5-10 years when it's now all owned individually by the lot owners. And so we're proposing to have this PUD zone and give us more flexibility to use that to tackle some of the affordability problems we have in the city. Now, again, we're going to get a second take at this when we bring you the Recode project, that when we're redoing all the Land Development Code ordinances in the spring, we're going to bring, before then you'll see it, some additional changes. But for right now, this will be an avenue that townhomes can go, and we hope to see other kind of creative projects use this. So those are the three things that we're bringing before you. Does anybody have any questions?
Kirby, I do. On the setback of the 6 foot, fire code, if you're building anything using wood, requires 14 feet. How would that be handled? In between structures, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's 10 feet of separation unless you have the proper.
No, sir. If it's a wooden structure, it's 7 and 7 on each side. It's 14 feet.
Well,
if it's wood, if it is a wooden structure, if it's not, then yes. And that's the question I have for you.
The setbacks, in order of how strong things are, whatever the city setbacks are, you cannot ignore building code requirements, and you cannot ignore easements. Those are set in place, those are set in stone. So in the case that we have an allowance that wouldn't be permitted by building code, it'd be the building code that would be stronger in any case.
Okay.
So if you're correct that it is 14 feet, then the building code would have to be followed, and when plans are submitted, the building code is reviewed.
Okay. I have a second question. The second question goes back to the PUD. The PUD, under the clarifying the site plan approval process and allowing for P&Z Commission to allow for administrative approval for minor changes by the building official. Can you explain that a little bit better to me in terms of, so you're talking about plans already being submitted to the building department and then they review them and then they come to us?
So a lot of our zones have all the rules already spelled out. Like, think of an R1 zone. Here are the setbacks, here's the height restrictions, here are the things you can do in an R1 zone. So somebody comes and gets an R1 zone, and now they have the rules already in the Land Development Code how they can develop. When they do a PUD zone, there are some rules, but a lot of it's left up to the Planning Commission to agree with the site plan and what restrictions they'll give this particular development. Now, that site plan is binding. So imagine developer comes in, creates a site plan, planning commission approves it, sells all the lots, and 10 years later, one of the lot owners, one of the owners of that PUD wants to come in and, you know, expand the footprint of their structure or add something to the rear. Let's say it was minor, like they just want to add a palapa, but it's not in the site plan. Well, rather than having to come all the way back to the planning commission, change the whole site plan, the planning commission can decide, and we've got the language in there, but you decide by a motion to say, okay, we're giving the building official, in these circumstances, you don't have to come back and adjust site plan. The building official can say, yeah, no problem, you can go ahead with that change.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Kirby?
So on the easements that you have, so if you have a 10-foot easement in the back of your property, you would in essence have a 16-foot easement or a 16-foot setback?
Yes.
It would include the 10-foot and the 6-foot?
That's correct. Nothing the city can do can change the requirement of an easement. Easements are entered into by private parties, or I mean, it could be public parties as well. But in terms of legality, they're stronger than any setback. So easements would have to be respected, regardless of what the setbacks are. That's the case now. In some cases, you have easements that are larger than what the current setbacks are, even now. And just so I put that note on here just so there's no confusion of that. Regardless of the setbacks, the requirements for easements, minimum parking requirements, and site traffic visibility must be followed.
Okay. Anybody else on the commission have any questions? Well, Kirby, I think from my perspective, what you're proposing makes sense to me. And I guess the next step is obviously a public hearing at the city council.
Yes, sir, on January 19th.
January 19th, okay. I don't know, how do the rest of the commission members feel about the proposals?
What I would ask for is a positive recommendation from the commission. Changes.
Yes, Commissioner Dominguez, and I'm in favor of sending a positive recommendation. I think what is brought before us have been discussed many times, and I think we should send this recommendation to City Council.
Very good.
Second.
Larry's also in favor. How about the rest of the commissioners? How about Joey and Raul and Abby?
This is Davis. I mean, I have no issues with sending a positive recommendation. I think it's a step in the right direction. And
okay.
Yeah. This Davis, and I concur.
Okay. Abby?
Yeah, I agree as well with the rest of the comments as well.
Okay. Mr. Dueñez? Rafael, can you hear me?
Sí, yo opino que tenemos que estar viendo todavía con calma estas regulaciones que dice Kirby, son nuevas para mí.
Okay, good. Kirby, then the commission wants you to go forth with they recommend approval to the city council of your proposed changes.
Okay, great.
And it's unanimous. It's a unanimous approval. Okay.
And
all right, do you have anything in the director's comments?
Yes, I'll just say I'm excited about the PUD zone. I really do hope it gets utilized more, and it will be an opportunity for the planning commissioners to really put on your design caps. And as staff, we may not always agree with we're opening the doors to more creative solutions. And with that, you're going to see things that probably you don't agree with, and as staff, we may see things we don't agree with as well. But ultimately, we're putting the authority and trust in the planning commission's hands to say, you know, it's difficult to make all the rules for what you can do with development. And sometimes you need an outlet for some creativity, where somebody, if they can bring us a site plan on a piece of property, and you got to understand the surrounding neighborhood, the piece of property, the topography, the other challenges, the market, all those things put together, they're going to submit something, and you really get a lot of authority to say, yes, that works, modify it, which is something, you know, you're not necessarily doing a lot of, or denying it. Now that modification, that's something typically you're not providing that type of input in anything we give you. You're either saying yes up or yes down, or you might say one or two things. I'm not sure about that. But on these kind of developments, you could really say, you know what? I think these materials you're proposing, I don't think it looks really nice. I think you need to have higher quality materials, or I think you need to consider this about how living there might. So it's really exciting, but it's also going to be challenging. But as staff, we'll do our best to prepare when we get one of those in. And we've already got some developers interested in this, so it might be quite soon if this passes the council. So we're excited about that. With that said, I'll just thank everybody for their service, and just to notify the public again that you don't get paid for your time on the Planning Commission. Sometimes you probably think you should, all the time you put into this, but you don't. You do it because you love your community and you're serving your community. We really appreciate that. I also want to say thank you very much to Commissioner Tellez, Commissioner Ugalde, and Commissioner Lugo? No. Flores. Yes. Tellez, Ugalde, and Flores. We're going to miss y'all.
Flores has been out already for the longest time. I don't know if you noticed it.
Yes, but we're still going to miss him. We're going to miss you, and Commissioner Tellez as well. It's been a pleasure serving with you. Your efforts for your community have made a difference.
Well, wait a minute. You might be a little bit premature. I mean, what did they get
reappointed?
Put back on the commission? So I would hold off on giving him a farewell at this point. I think let's wait and see what happens. They may end up getting appointed again.
All right. Well,
they're good commissioners, and
that's the case.
They do a really good job for the city, and be ashamed to have them replaced.
I would still be happy if we keep them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you tell me that, I won't show up to the next meeting. You're going to be down.
Kirby, I do have one thing I'd like to mention with you and see if it's possible. I know these are WebEx meetings. Let's see if we can do a little experiment, maybe at the next meeting, about having the engineers also in the WebEx, so that we can also be, maybe looking at their presentations. I think it might just, let's see if we can experiment a little bit and see if we can do that. I know that on Zoom meetings and stuff, I've been on Zoom meetings that I've had one that was like 80 people on it without a problem. Do you think we can do that? Try an experiment and see if you guys can manage it, or, it's still tolerable?
We certainly can. I would also like to hear from the other commissioners on that. My only feedback would be I felt like things have gone well, but that certainly would add length to the meetings in terms of time. And but I felt like—
Why would it add length?
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like we've presented the required amount of detail and also respecting of your time. But it would obviously be up to the commission. If you want to try that, we could do that. We certainly can.
Okay. What do the rest of the commissioners feel? Do you feel that it'd be something worth for us to take an experiment and look and see if we can get the other engineers or public who has a specific item on to come on a WebEx meeting with us?
I agree. This is Ugalde, because I think sometimes it's difficult to translate what's going on when you're on the phone, and things could be lost in translation. And for someone to try to prove their point when there's opposition to a certain item from the commission, then it's really hard for the applicant to rebuttal and really put their thoughts together through a phone system. It just gets complicated.
Commissioner Lugo, I think a good start would be to at least just give them the option, and if they agree to utilize that, then they can join us, and if they choose to just do the conversation on the phone, I guess that'd be their decision.
Okay, we'll give it a shot next time, and we'll see how it goes.
When is our next meeting? January the what?
Our next meeting is this. Let's see. It's the 2 days after the 19th. It's 21st. It's 21st.
Okay.
Erasmo.
Yeah.
I've already gone to in-person meetings. Close to the public, but everybody present. Just spacing them out and everybody wears a mask.
And I don't disagree with you. I guess it's just, what is the policy of the city right now? They still have City Hall shut down, right?
Well, council has explicitly not allowed any of the commissions or committees to meet. So it will require their action for us to meet again.
Okay, so I guess we'll try this particular WebEx and then let's see where it goes. By February or March, hopefully we can get back. Maybe we can meet in person. But again, it's a city council decision.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, you all stay safe. You all have a good holiday, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you all next year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
All right, guys. We'll see you all. Stay safe. Bye.